Hey, what's going on, everyone? Christian Carter with Radius Financial Group, and today we're talking about Dutch interest and non-Dutch interest. This is a term I'm sure a lot of you guys have never heard about, but it's also very, very important. And we're going to talk about Dutch interest and how it applies to renovation loans, construction loans, and then, of course, we're going to go over a quick example because I love examples. All right, let's start off with Dutch interest first. So, Dutch interest is a loan that accrues interest on the entire loan balance, regardless of what portion of the construction funds have been advanced by the lender. Don't worry, if you don't understand that definition, we're going to talk about it more. Stick with me. All right, this is also known as full boat interest. Now, one of the benefits of going with Dutch interest is that sometimes the lender or the bank or whoever, they will offer you a better rate in term, right? So you just might get a better rate in term if you elect to use Dutch interest or if they force you to use Dutch interest, right? Now, Dutch interest, this can apply to both construction and renovation loans, but it is normally going to be applied with renovation loans. So 9 times out of 10, we see Dutch interest being used on renovation loans like FHA 203K, Fannie Mae home style, things like that, right? All right, so let's go through a quick example here, right? Now, with both of these examples, Dutch interest and non-Dutch interest, we're just going to go over the example of you're building a home for $100,000, right? Just to keep it simple, just to keep everyone on the same page, right? All right, so this is an example of Dutch interest, right? Your total cost of construction, total cost to build the home is $100,000. So in January, construction begins, right? And let's say they're doing the site work and they're pouring the foundation, and that's going to cost 25 grand. And then in February, they're doing the framing, the roofing, and the siding, and that's also going to cost 25 grand. And then in March, you've got the electrical and you've got the plumbing being done, which is going to cost 25 grand. And then finally, to wrap up the project, to wrap up the construction of this new home that you're building, we're going to do the flooring and we're going to do all the finish work. We're going to button everything up, and that's going to be 25 grand as well. And that's going to happen in April, right? So here's the timeline of the construction, January to April. Here's the different breakdown, and it's going to be $100,000 for the total project. Now, with Dutch interest, because we're paying the full boat, right? The borrower will start making payments on the full $100,000 loan balance in January. So this means that even though the bank is lending out this money in kind of $25,000 draws or increments, with Dutch interest, the borrower is going to start paying back the $100,000 beginning in January. I hope that makes sense. If not, when we talk about non-Dutch interest, it's really going to click. All right, so now let's go over non-Dutch interest. This is a loan that only accrues interest on the portion of the funds advanced to date. Again, if you're kind of wrapped around the axle on that definition, don't worry, we're going to work it out in the example. Now, this can apply to both construction and renovation loans, but typically with non-Dutch interest, we're going to be looking at a construction loan, typically 9 times out of 10. If the borrower does elect to go with non-Dutch interest, or if the lender allows the borrower to use non-Dutch interest, this is going to save the borrower tons of money if the construction budget is large with a long timeline. So if you're doing a really big project, like a really big house or something like that, and it's going to cost a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of time to build, you are going to save a lot of money by using non-Dutch interest. All right, so here's the example. Like we talked about before, both examples, we're going to be building a new home that's going to cost $100,000, and the timeline is going to look the same, right? January to April. Again, total cost of construction, $100,000 to build this home. In January, we're doing the site work on the foundation, which is going to cost $25,000. So starting in January, the borrower is going to start making payments on that $25,000 balance, okay? Move forward to February, we're doing framing, roofing, and siding. That's going to cost an additional 25 grand. So now the borrower is going to make payments on the $50,000 balance. So in January, the borrower is making payments on 25 grand because that's what the bank has lent out. And then in February, because the bank or the lender has lent out an additional 25 grand, the borrower is going to start making payments on the $50,000 balance. See where I'm going with this? So in March, we do the electrical and plumbing. That's another 25 grand. So in March, the borrower will start making payments on the $75,000 balance. Then of course, in April, we're wrapping this project up. Flooring and finish work is going to cost an additional $25,000. So in April, the borrower is going to start making payments on the full $100,000 balance. Now you can see we only did a 4-month breakdown here with 25 grand pretty much per draw. If you're doing a construction project that's going to last 2 years and costs $700,000, if you can pay non-Dutch interest, you are going to be saving a ton of money over those 2 years. Because remember, we talked about Dutch interest with that previous example. Let's say a 2-year construction period and a $700,000 construction cost. If you're forced to pay Dutch interest, you're going to be paying that 700 grand up front. So you can save a ton of money by using non-Dutch interest. Again, just to wrap it up, 9 times out of 10, we see Dutch interest being used with renovation loans like FHA 203K and Fannie Mae Homestyle. Those are the 2 popular ones. And then we see non-Dutch interest being used for construction loans, typically building a home from the ground up. I hope this was helpful. I hope you didn't get thrown off by anything, but if you did, please reach out to me. I love making these videos, as always, so if you guys have topics, please bring them up. Please let me know, and I'd be happy to shoot a video on it. Thanks. See ya.